Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Rose Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now today, me and Buckeye Mike, we preview each NFL wildcard game and break down what we think about each matchup.
So the last segment, I'm going to change it up on you. The last segment, I want to talk NFL playoffs because we got the wild card weekend coming up. So I just want to talk about what we think is the best and the worst matchups for a wild card weekend.
Cowboys going up against Brady, you feel like that's just the absolute worst possible matchup you could get because the Cowboys, for some reason, have a tendency to choke. I don't know why, because I mean, we know the Cowboys, they're America's team, right? And I mean, we know what they've won in the past. They've won a lot, but recently, when they make the playoffs, they find a way to lose, and it's like you're playing against Brady. Like the Bucks have struggled all season long. They have a losing record. They're 8-9, but you're playing Brady as the Cowboys, and you saying the best and worst match. I think that's the worst possible matchup for the Cowboys, unless the Cowboys play like they did against the Vikings, beat them 40-3. I mean, the Cowboys have shown that they're capable, that they can be one of the best NFL teams, beating the Vikings 40-3. But then you lose to the Jaguars, and I mean, if the Bucks play like they have in some games this year, then the Cowboys will win. Even if the Cowboys play bad, you would think you lose to the Falcons, even if it was the final game of the regular season, it doesn't matter. I mean, you lost the Packers on the 2-point conversion. I mean, games like that. But it's Brady. It's the playoffs. You just feel like he's gonna find a way to beat the Cowboys, especially if the Cowboys play a bad game like they've been doing in the playoffs lately.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the worst, I agree 100%. It's got to be Cowboys and Buccaneers. I mean, as of late, to your point, they haven't shown that they can win in the playoff. I mean, I had this discussion with Austin about the Cowboys specifically. I said, you've had better teams within the last 10 years, and they're one and done. They don't even get out of that first game with a win. I mean, prime example, the 16 team with Jack and Zeke, their rookie year, 13-3. They're a 1 or a 2 seed. The Packers come in off the wild card game into Jerry World. You had a chance to win, and you blew it. You end up losing by 3.
I mean, last year they choked. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, on paper, Dallas should beat the Bucks. And I mean, really, it doesn't really matter who the opponent is, because if you choke, you choke. It just feels like you have a better shot to choke because it's Brady and the Bucks. You feel like Brady's gonna kind of go in beast mode since it's the playoffs, and he's gonna give it everything he's got. I mean, like I said, if the Cowboys play to their potential, they should beat the Bucks. But if they don't, then they won't. Now, I will say another interesting game, since we're talking about the wild card. I think that the Ravens Bengals could be a really good game if Lamar Jackson plays. But I don't know. I mean, if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, then more than likely the Bengals are going to win that game. I mean, that's just the way it is. But if Lamar Jackson plays and he's healthy and he plays a really good game, that could be a good game.
So, do you think that would qualify for your most anticipated to watch game, or is there a better one in your opinion?
Again, if Lamar Jackson's able to play, I would probably say that's the best one. I mean, looking up and down, I mean, you got the Seahawks 49ers. I mean, on paper, the 49ers should win that game. I mean, Geno Smith's had good performances this year, and the Seahawks have at times they've played really well, but they have kind of folded down the stretch. And I know the argument is that this is Brock Purdy. This is his first playoff game. he shouldn't even be playing right now. If you're looking at the depth chart, it should be either Trey Lance or it should be Jimmy Garoppolo, but they're neither available. So, I mean, there is a shot the 49ers could slip up, but they've been playing really well. But there is a shot they could slip up with Brock Purdy, so that could be interesting. The Chargers and Jaguars, that could be a good game too. I mean, you've got two younger quarterbacks in Herbert, and this is, Lawrence's first playoff game. That could be a really good game. The Dolphins and Bills, I mean, if the Dolphins had, Tua and he was playing, it's kind of the same thing with Lamar. I mean, if Tua Tagovailoa plays, then the Dolphins maybe could beat the Bills. I mean, they almost beat the Bills in the snow, up in Buffalo. That was a really good game. But since Tua's, been out with concussion protocol, they're not very good. So if he doesn't play, the Bills will win. But if he does play, there's a shot there. So both the Dolphins, Bills, and the Ravens, Bengals are predicated on whether their quarterback's playing. And the Giants, Vikings, this is kind of interesting as well because I don't think the Giants are a very great team. They made the playoffs, and I'm glad for the Giants that they did because they haven't been in a while. But it really is going to come down to what Kirk Cousins does in the Vikings because they've kind of have that choke factor as well to an extent in a lot of big games. I mean, because Kirk Cousins can light it up, throw for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then he has bad games. But since I don't know on the quarterback situation, I will probably say either the Cowboys, Bucks, because I'm really curious to see if the Cowboys are going to choke again or if they can find a way to beat Brady, or the Chargers, Jaguars, because at least both quarterbacks I know are playing, and that could be a really good game. The other two, like I said, it comes down to the quarterbacks.
I'd say for me, as far as most uninterested in, but probably still watch because I mean it's free football. Probably agree with you, Cowboys and Bucks. I mean everything goes against the Cowboys, like you said. I mean you're 0-7 against Brady. There's a chance because it is the 4-5. They're both about equal. They both suck to the standards of
record than the other.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying usually like. Brady teams are like 3 seed or higher, usually hovering on 1 or 2. You're gonna have Dak duel Brady like they did in the kickoff game a couple years ago. Zeke's gonna have to run nuts. You're gonna have to like do a dual run threat with Zeke and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is really good too. Like people praise Zeke earlier, but dude. Tony Pollard, in my opinion, is about just as good, if not slightly better than Zeke.
He had a 1,000-yard season this year, too, and he played fantastic. I mean, to your point about Dak, I mean, literally, Dak, you cannot do what you did last week, throwing a pass that should have been picked, and then throw the same pass again, and it got picked that time. I mean, that was, I mean, literally listening to the commentators on that sequence was hilarious when he literally threw the ball and it was almost picked. Should have been picked. And it's like, oh, Dak got away with one there. And then they run the same route and he throws it again and it gets picked. And they're like, I don't think I've ever seen a sequence like if you're Dak, you cannot do that. If you want to beat Brady and the Bucks, you cannot throw any interceptions. I mean, even if you only throw for 150 yards and a touchdown or two, you have a better chance to win than throwing for 300 yards and having 2 or 3 picks. You cannot turn the ball over.
At least prevent the costly turnover. Like if you to people's point, if you throw what do they call that? One of those dump passes where it's like a trips left or right, and the 2 wide receivers that are in front of the one are blockers just because it's a dump pass to the one in the back. If you throw one like that and it gets picked off and nobody's there to stop them, that's a touchdown interception. And you want to prevent that because that's a costly interception. If you don't have the costly turnovers, you can afford to have like 1, maybe 2 interceptions, as long as, to your point, you're countering it with 150, 200 yards, 2, maybe 3 touchdowns. That's about the performance you're going to need out of Dak to win this game to even, or or realistically, you're going to need just that to even be close
Mm-hmm.
in the game. Because I mean, there's a big possibility that obviously I don't think you or I will just because it's part of our job. But
Mm-hmm.
if it gets out of hand, people are going to get to the point they're going to turn it off, like they did Georgia TCU.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I'm just saying, like, if it gets to the point it's like 28-7 midway through the third quarter, you might as well turn it off
If
because
the Bucks beat the Cowboys 65-7, then something is just internally forever wrong with the Cowboys. You cannot most of the time they lose by 3 or 7. They choke. That's what choke is, when you're like winning and then you give the game away. If you're losing 65-7, you might need to just shut down. You don't not play anymore. They're not going to lose 65-7. If the Cowboys lose, it will be a close loss, probably by 3-7 on a game that you look at the stats, they should have won, but Dak threw a pick or two, or you just allowed Brady to get that last drive where he scores and wins the game. That would, to me, be the way they're going to win. And again, the Cowboys would have choked again, but they don't need to shut their organization down. They're good. I mean, it's just another choke job. Get them next year versus can't lose 65-7. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about each NFL wildcard matchup and what you think is going to happen in each game. And I will see you next time.